Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the record collection. This is K till Z, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think we should just start. It's snowing right now
Yeah.
outside.
Okay.
A very rare occurrence.
So what you're going to see is we've seen a lot of comments on Neve's page asking for different albums. I think in some cases your questions will be answered.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people were saying, well, where's your Beatles stuff? Well, that's all in my other collection video.
Well, we look at it as one whole collection.
Yeah. But anything you didn't see here that's you expect us to have is probably going to be in my video. Anyway, should we start?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with K.
So this one here is one of the great albums, Carole King, Tapestry. You know by now, guys, I'm a huge Deadhead. This is Bob Weir's band in the 70s, Phish, with the New Riders bass guitarist Dave Talbot. Ooh, bit of Britpop here. Cooler Shaker, very psychedelic.
Some people were asking about this album.
Yes, we're talking about psychedelic, an essential album for the collection is Forever Changes by Love. Right, as you all know, I like bands like The Smoke, and Neve and I went to see this band live. I love them. It's Leonard Skinner with the awesomeness that is Freebird. And this one here is Second Helpings. Got some great stuff on it, you know, like Sweet Home Alabama. Working for the MCA, that's on this as well. It's a brilliant album. And this is a record store day compilation of different types of
It's all our different songs.
songs and everything. It's just Leonard Skinner compilation, I think, all collected.
On to M now.
We're now going into the strata of progressive rock again, but modern progressive rock.
And that band is?
The Mars Volta. This is Scab Dates. This is a live album. This one here is their last album, Nocturnique. This was Octahedron. This one here is Amputecture. Ooh, I love this album. The Bedlam in Goliath. We mentioned this one before, and this is an album that I put in my top 10 prog albums of all time. Probably in my top 50 albums of all. I love this. This Branches the Mute, and this is a very rare copy. I'm talking about rare. So is this. Their first album after they formed the Mars Volta. So this is Deloused and the Comatorium. Another great San Francisco band, Steve Miller. This is a box set of all his live albums.
I think and studio.
Sorry, not live albums, studio albums. There we go. So, to all you people that like folk and American folk, and also just marvellous female voice, Joni Mitchell, Blue. Huh. You can possibly imagine that if I like Leonard Skinner, I would like this band, Molly Hatchet. The great Leslie West, who just recently passed away, Mountain, Nantucket Sleigh Ride. Great album.
So the Japanese pressing as well.
Yeah.
These are going to be from the same group, which is?
The New Riders of the Purple Sage. Majestic.
Let's go.
This is the first album with the classic Henry on it. This is a live concert in 1972 they did. This is one of my favourite live albums, Home Home on the Road. Power Glide, great album. Also with the wonderful Nicky Hopkins on that one. So Gypsy Cowboy. This one is another live album, and this was recorded in Oregon. Ooh, The Adventures of Panama Red. And this one is Brujo. And who are these guys? Yeah. Next one, also of the same ilk, but one of my favourite albums in its genre. This one here is the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Just one quick thing. The Circle Be Unbroken is a great album. Unfortunately, I don't have it yet. But this one is my favourite, Symphonic Dream by the Nitty Gritty Dirt
Why
Band.
don't you tell them how you actually came to hear of this band?
Oh, right. Well, I knew about them, but I was one of the record shops in Wimbledon that I used to go to in the mid-70s. They were all massive deadheads, and they used to get loads of stuff from the States. And I ordered with them the Adventures of Panama Red. I went over to collect it, and they said it hadn't arrived yet, but he said, this album's, in other words, this one, has just come in. I'd give it a listen. And as you guys who probably are the same age as me know, you're able to go to a booth somewhere and listen to it. I've heard it, and I just had to have it. It's just wonderful.
On to O.
Oh, so we now go up a few years now into the 90s.
One of Mum's favourite bands.
One of Mum's, Maura's favourite band. So this is Oasis, the 2 Oasis albums, Definitely Maybe and What's the Story, Morning Glory. To me, their 2 finest albums.
We're going
back a decade to the 80s, another band that I loved a lot. I saw in New York when I worked there. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, Organisation, fantastic album.
And this one is
Architectural Morality. And right, we're going to the last one of O, but this is to us one of our most valuable albums and one of the best albums that we have. It's Oysterhead.
I think some people commented that they saw them live when they were around.
Yeah.
Which is very cool.
So I think that possibly they have 3 of the best musicians around. Just 3 of them. The Police's drummer, Stuart Copeland, who to me is the best drummer. The best, and it's a bold statement, one of the best bassists around at the moment, Les Claypool of Primus. And of course, Trey Anastasio of Phish, who is just wonderful. But this is a very, very rare copy.
Okay, on to P now.
There's somebody now on Neve's YouTube page, and one of the subscribers, I believe, was asking about, what, you like country rock but no Graham Parsons? Wrong. Grievous Angel. So this is a best of compilation. Greatest hits, obviously. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
It's all from the same band.
Porcupine Tree. This one, there's the Porcupine Tree live, which is Como Divine. This is a box set of a live gig in, I think, fairly late one. Yeah, it's 2006. This is Lightbulb Sound. This is Signify. I think this a lot of the tracks on the live album Como Divine are from this album. This is The Sky Moves. Oh, Deadwing. Great album. No, Up the Downstairs. That's another great album. Stupid Dream. Yes, In Absentia. I would say this is their best album, except for one album which is coming up now. Fear of a Blank Planet. It has Alex Lifeson on it and Robert Fripp. The birth of prog rock in this country. Procol Harum, A Salty Dog, and Procol Harum, Shine On Brightly.
So, do you want to introduce this one?
So these next albums were for one band, one of the best American bands there is at the moment. This is the band Phish. This is actually Trey Anastasio solo album, Ghosts of the Forest. This is Traveller by Trey. So this is their latest one, Sigma Oasis. The last one, Big Boat. Fuego. The Sicket disc. This is a completely instrumental album. Joy. Probably the most upbeat of her albums, hence the title. This is Slip, Stitch and Pass. This is a live album. Ooh, like this one. The Story of the Ghost. Great album. This is a box set of one of the recent gigs at Madison Square Gardens, Baker's Dozen. The Wonderment That Is Forever, Billy Breathes. This one here is Farmhouse. Great album. Rift. Great. This is probably the nearest to the pure prog album. That and probably Junta. A Picture of Nectar. Got some good stuff on. This is good as well. Hoist. And this is Lawn Boy. Run like. It's got Yeah, Run Like an Antelope on there, which is brilliant. So this one here is their first sort of mainstream album, and this is Junta. This is their first album. Did they actually call it? It's just called Phish, and this was when they were in college and everything. And this is my favourite live album of theirs, a live one, Phish. Great stuff on it. Great, simple. I love that. This is a solo album by Page McConnell and a couple of guys from the Dead and Company on here. Hotel Bainbridge is on here. This is Vida Blue Crossing Lines. And this is another Trey album. This is very good. Yeah, this is Wheels by Trey and Anastasio. All fantastic. So you can see why I quite like Phish.
Cute, sorry.
So one of the great San Francisco bands, Quicksilver Messenger Service. This is, of course, one of the classic Jam albums, Happy Trails. This one's Shady Grove. Yep, Shady Grove. One of my favourite live albums of all time, Lou Reed at his absolute finest, Rock and Roll Animal. One of my wife's favourite albums, Automatic for the People, R.E.M.
Next all from the same band, which is?
The Rolling Stones. People are asking about our Rolling Stones collection.
First one.
Aftermath. It's the US pressing, this one. Their Satanic Majesty's Request. This is an old album of the Stones. I recorded. It's basically recording on air, on radio. Beggar's Banquet, great album. Let It Bleed. Sticky Fingers.
And lastly?
And certainly not least, is Exile on Main Street. This was Mick Taylor's final passing shot with the Rolling Stones.
Next are also all from the same artist.
This is all from the same artist. In the mid-70s, I was listening to a lot of Todd. Todd Rundgren, who I love, because he's sort of just a great musical producer, and also he combines all different facets of music, whether it's soul or hard rock or prog rock. I think there's even a couple of reggae stuff that he's done. He's just a mercurial genius. This one here is Something Anything. Wonderful. I Saw the Light. This is just the Todd album with the wonderful The Last Ride on it. We spoke about this one in my favourite live albums. A Wizard, a True Star. These are just a recording of singles that he made. This is a lovely album, Utopia. And finally, again, last but not least, a great album. This is Todd Rundgren. This is Hermit of Mink Hollow. And it's got some great stuff on it. One last album to all people from Britain or the east coast of the States or wherever. An really unknown punk band who, in my opinion, were better than the Pistols and everything like that. But their lead singer lamentably died very young, Malcolm Owen. This is The Ruts. Staring at the Rude Boys and Jar War on it. Yeah, The Crack. It's a great album, The Ruts.
Next we're on to S.
This is Abraxas by Santana.
We have 2 copies of this.
This is the third album, my personal favourite of Santana, Caravanserai. This one is the late Santana 4, they call this. A reunion with a lot of the old members was great. We're now entering German music and the master, to me, together with, obviously, Kraftwerk, Klaus Schulze. Time Wind by Klaus Schulze. One of my favourite albums of all time. I've got 2 copies of this, Mirage. This is Irrlicht, which is a fantastic album. Moon Lake. And this is the one that he did with the fantastic Mike Shreve, Transfer Station Blue. Simon and Garfunkel, Sounds of Silence, and Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Back to the 80s in Scotland. And one of my favourite band of theirs. This is Simple Minds. This is a live box set. I love this, my favourite Simple Minds album, New Gold Dream. Sinceros, okay, the Sons of Champion. This is the Sons. Loosen Up Naturally, the Sons of Champlin. Another great San Francisco group of the 60s and early 70s. Frantic Desolation, so this is Sopwith Camel. No sort of like really collection should be without this album. Spirit, the great 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus. Dusty Springfield, fantastic, live in Memphis. Bit of 70s folk rock, Steel Eye Span, Parcel of Rogues.
And this one is one that a lot of people actually were talking about. Where's your Steely Dan album?
Oh, here it is, Can't Buy a Thrill.
This also, yeah.
Pretzel Logic, all Dan. This is the Royal Scan. This is Katie Lloyd. This is just a compilation of some great numbers of theirs. Is it Aja or Ahak? I don't know, but this is a great album. No. Stephen Stills, after Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young went away, he formed a band of fantastic musicians like Chris Hillman, and Dallas Taylor as well, who was in Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, the drummer, or just some great musicians in here. And they're called Manassas, but I put them under Stephen Stills. This is a live album. This is the first Manassas album, which is wonderful. This one here's the second one they did, Down the Road. Stoneground, another San Francisco band of the late 60s and early 70s. To the 90s now, but probably the finest example of what was generically going to be called Britpop, first Stone Roses album. Actually, although that is a classic album, I love it. In many ways, I like this album, which is the second one, The Second Coming, Stonewall. Now, this came to me very late. This is an album by a band in New York. They've basically retired after it was released. They got jerked off by their record producer. And I just listened to it and I thought it was bloody wonderful.
These are all from the same band?
The String Cheese Incidents, here we are, believe. Trick or Treat, a live album. This one here is One Step Closer. This one here is my favourite of theirs, Song in My Head. I love this album. It's a great album.
And lastly?
Supertramp, although not particularly such a big fan of theirs, I do love this album. I love this. This is Crime of the Century. And lastly, an album that you'll probably be very surprised that Neve and I have in our collection. But I think this album, which was the Folklore by Taylor Swift. So we're now on to tea.
Let's start.
Back to the 80s again, and sort of electronic pop. Talk. Oh, this is Tangerine Dream. This is Zeit, Fagra, Rubicon. And here we go. So this is the Tedeschi Trucks Band. This is Made Up Mind. This is one at the live at the Fox. This one, Fox, is in Oakland. This one here, Let Me Get By. And this is the last album, Signs. This is High and Mighty. Next one is a pure out-and-out country and western singer, Mel Tillis.
A lot of people have been asking about this as well.
So this is Traffic, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
One
of Ireland's finest bands, The Undertones.
Next two are from the same artist.
Well, I'm going to put these under Utopia. I mean, although extensively it's Todd Rundgren, but this was the band Utopia. That is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And this is a really good... I saw them in London when they were sort of like debuting this album, and it was just spectacular, the show. This is U2 Raw, I think it's called. Raw, yeah.
Last, You.
And
U2.
This is U2. Not a big fan. Like some of their stuff.
Mum that likes U2.
But it's, yeah, your mum loves U2. But this one here is the Joshua Tree.
On to V.
To V. First is Texas Flood by the great late Stevie Ray Vaughan. Another Britpop band from the 90s. Urban Hymns by The Verve.
No.
So we're now into W. Jazz. The great Joel Zweier. Weather Report, Wayne Shorter and Joel Zweier. This one is Tail Spinning. Oh, Bob Weir. Ace, one of the great Bob Weir albums. Bob's latest album. Blue Mountain.
This one might be a surprise.
Ooh,
Kanye West.
Kanye West, yeah. He samples a lot of good stuff on this. This is what My Beautiful Dark Fantasy or something like that, isn't it?
Still by the same band?
To an artist that was introduced to me watching the Sons of Anarchy, The White Buffalo.
I'm excited for this one.
Yes, I know. So we come now to the greatness that is The Who and Tommy.
And who's next?
Who's next? Oh, this is Glenn Cornick and I'm thinking Dave Abrams, who were in Jethro Tull. They formed this band, and good album, Wild Turkey, Battle Hymn. There's a Keller Williams album he does with the String Cheese Incident. Oh, Bamboo, Dennis Wilson.
All of these are by the same artists coming out.
Right, so when we're discussing Porcupine Tree, we're discussing the main engine room behind it with the genius, which is Stephen Wilson. One of the finest albums that has been produced for a very, very, very long time. An urgently needed listen to, The Raven That Refused to Sing. If you like prog rock and you like modern prog rock, you have to get this album. This is absolutely so brilliant.
And this one is To the Bone. This is a great
So,
album.
we were talking earlier about Dusty Springfield in this country. Just minuscule level below her, in my opinion, Amy Winehouse, who just had, and this is Back to Black, which is just a great album. What a late lamented singer, and so beautiful, her voice.
Another one that people have been asking about.
Argus, Wishbone Ash. One word, magnificent.
And this is a live album. A record store day one.
Yeah.
Next on to...
Why?
Yep, why?
After the Gold Rush, Neil Young and Zed. ZZ Top, which this is great,
But
this is better.
we saw them live.
Yeah, they're very good.
Next on to some kind of soundtracks. And
Soundtrack and compilation kind of albums coming up now.
So,
I guess you'd be surprised that I had this not. Easy Rider. And I guess you'd be surprised not that I had this album, Woodstock, The Last Days box set of Fillmore West.
next we have two of these.
So this is the film by Michele Antonioni, which was Zabriskie Point. It's got some great stuff, and there's a section of Dark Star, there's some Pink Floyd on there, and some Jerry stuff. I mean, it's just great. This is a compilation loaded
90s stuff.
of 90s Britpop. Sort of all bands like Coldplay and Stereophonics,
Oasis.
Paul Weller, Primal Scream, bands like the Happy Mondays, Underworld, all that sort of stuff that was made in the 90s. And we now come to the last bit, which is my pride and joy, which I will be getting framed as soon as this lockdown thing's finished, but I have to show you this.
These are some signed albums.
This is Working Man's Dead,
And who's that signed by?
and it's signed by Bob Weir and Phil Lesh. And this is Slip, Stitch and Pass, and this is signed with every member of Phish, with, I believe, the exception of John Fishman, but Trey, Paige and Mike as well are all signed it. Yeah, one other thing, we do have a signed copy of Signs by Tedeschi Trucks.
So that's the end of the video.
That's the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed part 1 and part 2.
Hopefully you can have some new music recommendations and stuff that you have been asking about, which is now being shown in this video. Especially stuff like the Rolling Stones, which a lot of people have been asking, where is it? Where is it? It's here. But I hope it was enjoyable, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.